Hello. Hi, beautiful souls. Okay, perfect. We're recording. I feel like a princess when I wear this dress, first and foremost. Thank you for gathering my kingdom. um, I feel like a queen more than a princess. It's so funny. I often have people misunderstanding when I say my business name is the Blonde Priestess. And they're like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then later on the conversation, they'll be like, like what you do with the princess business. And I'm like, yeah. I used to correct people and used to be like, there's a huge difference between princess and priestess. But now I'm starting to wonder. Oh, a woman of authority. Now, fun fact about the priestess, and then we're going to go into the topic for the day. But fun fact about the priestess is when you look at the high priestess in tarot, she sits at a throne and she has this beautiful moon crown above her. So it's the full moon, the waxing moon and the waning moon flanking the full moon on her crown, which represents her connection to all of the women that have come before her and all that will come after her and all the variations of women that she has been herself. And so it's a very beautiful symbolism. It's one of the main reasons I got this tattoo here, which is a bracelet and has the three moon phases on it. And the full moon I made an Ouroboros, which is a snake eating its tail. So there's a lot of symbolism there. There's some really cool dots on the back that just like tie it in. My first tattoo, and really connects me to that crown. When I think of the high priestess, when I think of my path, my vision for my life, I think of the principles of the priestess. So what does she do sitting on this throne with a crown of moons? She is the translator of the messages from the great beyond to the uh, collective, to the consciousness. So, unconscious to conscious, she translates the messages from beyond the veil to humanity. In traditional tarot, you'll see her holding the Torah, which is very representative of her being a teacher and a sharer of truth and wisdom, what they would have seen as truth and wisdom then at that time. Um, but if we take the message and make it a little bit more timeless, she is the one that is poised in position consistently to receive what it is the beyond God, source, universe, the stars would have her know. And then she has a way of interpreting it and teaching it to others so that they can digest it and apply it to their human life. So as you can recognize, the Gemini in me, the communicator in me, the student in me, the teacher in me, all deeply resonates with this archetype. And she is a really beautiful idol or guru, fixture, reference point for me as when I do anything in life. If I'm considering my aim, I consider the priestess and is this in alignment with my priestess path that I've married so long ago? And remarried this year of devotion, as I mentioned in another previous Phoenix Diary, has been about remarrying that priestess in me, that inner knowing, that inner goddess, that teacher, the one who's here to make a big impact in the world, and making sure that she is at the throne of my heart. And then any other relationships that come in are here to accent and add to that and are not meant to dethrone her. And this feels correct for me through, I think many teachers would share this concept, but through trial and error, let's just start there. I've in the past allowed relationships to sit at the throne of my heart, specifically romantic relationships. And I thought that that was the greatest act of devotion as a woman. I thought that self abandonment and self sacrifice equaled unconditional love. And that could not be further from the truth. And some of you may already know this lesson. Some of you may not need to go do trial and error. And I really commend you because it can be a severe waste of time on one hand and a beautiful learning experience full of many, many, many contrasting moments that help bring you all back home to you, which is perfect. And it's what they're there for. So, I want to talk about marriage. I want to talk about what that means for us, our generation, and I'm going to skim the surface of the topic because there's so many ways to go, but I'm going to go with the way that I feel is most anchored in and true for me. Um, in the past, I had married someone who um, didn't fully understand or have an understanding of the concept of marriage, and definitely didn't agree with my concept of it. And not fully. There were some aspects, yes, and then most aspects, no. And so the in hindsight, of course, I look and I'm like, how the hell did we ever move forward with that? And there's a whole nother conversation. I feel like that isn't contributing as much as I would like to this central focus topic. So I would say the importance of finding someone that believes in marriage first and foremost in the way that you believe in it is crucial and obvious, but also not always obvious. Sometimes we think love is enough or the desire to be together is enough to override some of these friction points, these disagreement points. And I would not argue, I would just state that that's not the case. You have to work through these details. You have to have these conversations. And if you're in a relationship dynamic where these conversations can't happen, which was my situation, it would always very quickly escalate to fighting, anger, arguments. That again is about seven more red flags. So so if you are in a situation where you can't even discuss this with a even peaceful, open mindset, and another being able to receive and understand you, and also add their perspective and feel safe to do so, then this is not the foundation of any union. And so, what more so than my past, which I'm not feeling super passionate about wanting to divulge a lot around that aside from what I've just divulged, was really inspired by a book that I picked up from the bookstore a couple days ago. And it is called Conversations with God, an Uncommon Dialogue. It's by Neale Donald Walsch. And this is book 3, Embracing the Love of the Universe. Highly recommend it. I pulled it off oh, we're matching actually. Me and the cover of the book. I pulled it off the shelf and flipped it open. And of course, because this is something that is just so on brand for me. Love. I'm such a lover. I flipped open to the chapter where they're discussing Neil's marriage vows. And if you've read these books before, heard of them, or audibled them, or whatever, they're extremely popular books. Conversations with God. It is a channeler who is channeling the spirit of God and asking questions. So interviewing God and receiving God through a channel. I'm super into this. I'm a big believer. I understand if people are very skeptical of that. And I too approach this with skepticism. Every time I meet a channeler, actually, I approach it with skepticism and healthy paranoia. And I listen to my body and I feel the response as I'm learning and remembering and being reminded and hearing the dialogue. And I feel resonance, usually always. There has been a few channelers that I haven't resonated with, and I would just encourage you to follow your gut, trust your body. Um, I speak a lot about Abraham Hicks, as you guys know, and my body is always just feeling the authenticity of that pure channel. I've seen Esther channel Abraham in person as well, and it's just so solid, so pure, so beautiful. So this is Neil. This is Neil channeling God, and they bring up the topic of marriage vows. And I'm going to read you just a little brief summary. If you're interested, you can definitely grab this book. It's got so many other good nuggets in it. Um, Earlier this morning, I was reading about the concept of like good and evil and the devil and the conception of that concept in here, and it was fascinating. So Neil says, when Nancy and I decided to get married, I suddenly felt inspired to write a whole new set of marriage vows. God says, I know. He said, and Nancy joined me. She agreed that we couldn't possibly exchange the vows that had become a traditional at weddings. God said, I know. We sat down and created new marriage vows that, well, that defined the cultural imperative, as you might put it. And God said, I'm very proud. And as we were writing them, as we put the vows down, paper for the minister to read, I truly believed we were both inspired. And he said, of course you were. So here we go. He said, here's what Nancy and I said to each other when we got married, thanks to the inspiration we received. Minister, this is the minister speaking. Neil and Nancy have not come here tonight to make a solemn promise or to exchange a sacred vow. Nancy and Neil have come here to make public their love for each other, to give noticement to their truth, to declare their choice to live and partner and grow together, out loud and in your presence, out of their desire that we will all come to feel a very real and intimate part of their decision, and thus make it even more powerful. They've also come here tonight in the further hope that their ritual of bonding will help bring us all closer together. If you are here tonight with a spouse or a partner, let this ceremony be a reminder, a rededication of your own loving bond. We'll begin by asking the question, why get married? Neil and Nancy have answered this question for themselves, and they've told me their answer. Now I want to ask them one more time so they can be sure of their answer, certain of their understanding and firm in their commitment to the truth they share. The minister gets 2 roses from the table. This is the ceremony of roses, in which Nancy and Neil sharing their understandings and commemorate that sharing. Now, Nancy and Neil have told me it is your firm understanding that you are not entering into this marriage for reasons of security, that the only real security is not in owning or possessing, nor in being owned or possessed, not in demanding or expecting, and not even in hoping that what you think you need in life will be supplied by the other, but rather in the knowing that everything you need in life, all the love, all the wisdom, all the insight, all the power, all the knowledge, all the understanding, all the nurturing, all the compassion, and all the strength resides within you. And that you are not each marrying the other in hopes of getting these things, but in hopes of giving these gifts, that the other might have them in even greater abundance. Is that your firm understanding tonight? They say it is. And Neil and Nancy, you have told me it is your firm understanding that you are not entering into this marriage as a means of in any way limiting, controlling, hindering, or restricting each other from any true expression and honest celebration of that which is the highest and best within you, including your love of God, your love of life, your love of people, your love of creativity, your love of work, or any aspect of your being which genuinely represents you and brings you joy. Is that still your firm understanding tonight? They say it is. Finally, Nancy and Neil, you have said to me that you do not see marriage as producing obligations, but rather as providing opportunities. Opportunities for growth, for self, for full self-expression, for lifting your lives to their highest potential, for healing every false thought or small idea you've ever had about yourself, and for ultimate reunion with God through the communion of your 2 souls. That this is truly a holy communion, a journey through life with one you love as an equal partner, sharing equally both the authority and the responsibilities inherent in any partnership, bearing equally what burdens there be, basking equally in the glories. Is that the vision you wish to enter into now? They say it is. I now give these red roses, symbolizing your individual understandings of these earthly things, that you both know and agree how life will be with you in bodily form and within the physical structure called marriage. Give these roses now to each other as a symbol of your sharing of these agreements and understanding with love. They go on to perform a beautiful segment with a white rose as well and their rings. Um, but that is what I wanted to read to you. A complete 180, 360 from the traditional marriage vows. An opportunity instead of an obligation. I feel like if people understood and acknowledged that they could choose to write vows and create a container of partnership that looked like this, we would see a lot more people in healthy partnership. We would see a lot more marriages that have longevity. And we would see beings that are truly becoming better by being together. I'm so inspired by this. I hope that you can feel it in the way that I'm projecting and explaining. And if you have this book or you purchase this book, this is on 254, page 254 that I'm reading this. Conversations with God, book number 3. Stunning, just beautiful. And I really appreciate and love, and Esther Hicks and Abraham Hicks do this too, but I appreciate and love how they bring the personal threads and personal stories from Neale in this case to God so that God can speak to it and illuminate it and make it real for us humans who are in relationship or maybe contemplating marriage or maybe have been in marriage before and it's been broken and maybe have faced these struggles, which I think a lot of us do now, where we feel like sometimes we're trading our freedom in order to be in partnership with another. Uh, some of us relate to what I said to in the beginning of sometimes love in our world today feels like self-abandonment and self-sacrifice. Mm. And perhaps we see this from our parents. When I think of someone that I love so deeply, the just so deeply, I would just do anything for her. I think of my mom. And I wonder if sometimes my concepts of love are built around that relationship where I saw her sacrifice everything she could have possibly sacrificed, including some of her hopes and dreams, in order to provide for us and love us. I wonder if she were to have held on to some of those dreams and pursued them and also loved us, if we would have felt less loved, or if we would have felt as her children even more inspired and loved to see her so busy and full of life and full of her career, full of a really rewarding dynamic friendships and partnerships. If we would have felt like the time we did get with her was super duper precious and we were chosen, um, maybe we would have loved her even more. It's hard to say, but I think it is important for us to question that. What does unconditional love look like? What does love look like? Do we give ourselves that love? Of course. Do we give our friends, our networks, our tribes, our communities that love? And then when we go to give that love to another, a romantic love, do we change the rules of the game? And if so, why do we do that? Why are we conditioned to think like that? That, okay, yes, I love my friends and they love me and it's an even exchange and it's unconditional, but it has rules and parameters and boundaries and a container around it. But then when it comes to romantic love, everything goes out the window. No boundaries, no restrictions, and no rules. It's I wonder if we often do that, and then we see the demise of relationships often, very quickly, rapidly, sometimes traumatically, intensely. All contemplations here. This is very, very fresh on my mind and very present on my spirit. So I don't have a big answer. I have, as you can tell, some ways that I'm leaning and some experiences I've had that have taught me through just figuring out what doesn't work. And now, as I move forward, I'm entering into a new experiment, a new adventure, and I feel I have boots on the ground wisdom and I'm gathering resources from beautiful books and experiences like this. And I'm learning and I'm figuring out what works for me and what resonates for me and how I might be able to express that to a potential partner and be met there. And if not, recognize as soon as possible that that contract, that agreement, which all relationships have, is not going to be met and honored. And instead of maybe in the past, what I might have done is forced and lied to myself and made up a fantasy instead of looking at what was actually being said and shown, then I think I will have greater success. So I'll encourage you to think about this. Please share your contemplations with me. I'm excited to hear them. And I hope you have a beautiful day.